Hi there. Um, Today I'm resuming my series on Muhammad in the Bible. And I'm excited today to show that Muhammad is actually mentioned in the book of Isaiah. Um, as usual, we're going to invite our resource person, the one and only Dr. Zakir Naik. Please jam your hands together for him. That's all right. That's all right. Let him talk.
It's further mentioned in the Old Testament, in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 29, verse number 12. It's
Okay, so the first thing that Dr. Zakir Naik mentioned there is in the book in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 29, verse number 5. For context, he is not implying that the Bible mentioned Muhammad by name. He said in a different video that it's only one time, only one place that the Bible mentioned Muhammad by name. And you would think it is the same thing that Allah said in chapter 61, verse 6, where he said Isa ibn Maryam is going to, I think he said, Isa ibn Maryam mentioned that a prophet would come after him whose name will be called Ahmad. And so I think that if there is one place that we can find the name of Muhammad in the Bible, it's going to be in the New Testament. Maybe in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or any other epistle in the New Testament. But since he said that it is Jesus ibn Maryam, Isa ibn Maryam, who said so that should not be difficult to find in the Gospels. But when Dr. Zakir Naik was asked, how many times was Muhammad mentioned in the Bible? He said only one time. And where is that only one time? It's in the book of Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 16. We've looked at that before. I'll drop the link in the description box so you can watch that, so that everybody will know we're not lying on him. And in the same video, he then mentioned other places where Muhammad is referred to. And today, we're looking at the book of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 12, according to Dr. Zakir Naik. So let him continue.
It says, the book will be given to him who's not learned, and it will be said, pray, read this, and he will say, I am not learned. And this is exactly what happened when the first revelation came to the last and final messenger, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Okay, so he's raising very important questions here. We're going to answer those questions, or at least go through the references to see if this is talking about Muhammad or not. So he said, it is written in the book of Isaiah chapter 29 in verse 12 that the book will be given to somebody who is not learned, and he will be told, read. And then that unlearned person will answer and say, I cannot read. Right? So let's go and read the book of Isaiah chapter 12. Because chapter 29, Isaiah chapter 29 and in verse 12. Because it's always good to read. Don't forget, when you are dealing with Muslims, you should be verifying. Because by default, a lot of lies are told. So here is it. Or if you give the scroll to someone who cannot read and say, read this, please, they will answer, I don't know how to read. The scroll. So the first question is this. Was Muhammad given a book in cave Hira? Was Muhammad given a book right in that cave? We're not told. And if he was given, I don't know. Imagine how difficult this thing is. Imagine how ridiculous this thing is. This passage is saying a book will be given to somebody. All right? When you give it to those. So for context, let's go to verse 11. For you, this whole vision is nothing but words sealed in a scroll. So Isaiah is talking about a vision. He's talking about a vision. And he said, this whole vision is nothing but words sealed in a scroll. And if you give the scroll, so this is not actually something that happened. He is giving an allegory. He's giving an illustration that this whole vision will be is like, is nothing. Okay? Another version. All the future events in this vision are like a sealed book to them. And so this passage is just talking about people that are spiritually blind, who cannot discern the voice of God, the vision of God. That's what Isaiah is saying, that all this vision of the future. By the way, Isaiah is like the gospel preacher in the Old Testament. He said a lot of things about Jesus Christ. In Isaiah chapter 53, it is written there that, he will bear our transgression. The chastisement of our peace is going to be upon him. And Muslims will go into this book that prophesies about Jesus Christ. And they're looking for Muhammad there. And Isaiah is saying the vision has become to you like the words of a book. Like the words of a book. Look at, can you see this? Which is sealed. And when men, can you see? When men, okay? When you give. So that's just the idea. It's not specifying that it is an angel that will give the book to, it is anybody that doesn't have spiritual understanding. The vision will look like, to that person, like a scroll, like a book, which is given to somebody that cannot read. And then he will say, I cannot read. All right? And if you give it to somebody who can read, he will say, it is sealed. I don't understand it. That's exactly the context. That's what this thing is saying. But Muslims, as usual, will go into the Bible looking for Muhammad. Why? Because Allah has deceived them. Or maybe I should say Muhammad has deceived them and told them that he is written in the scriptures of the Jews and the Christians. And we find that making its way into Surah 61, Ayah 6. All right? But it gets worse. So I can read any, this is King James Version. The whole vision has become to you like the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one who is illiterate, saying, read this. And he says, I cannot read, for it is sealed. But look at the next verse. Remember that initially there was no versification. It's all one straight, like essay, like a prose. So there was no verse. So this verse 12, is going to be together with verse 11. It's going to be together with the verse before it. It's going to be together with the verse after it. So after narrating the story of somebody who could read, but the book is sealed and he is spiritually blind, he cannot see it, he cannot understand, and he said, I can't read. It is sealed. Just like the Bible is actually sealed to Muslims. Any spiritual thing is sealed to Muslims. They cannot understand. Then he goes ahead to say, okay, even if you give it to somebody that you give it to somebody who can read, he cannot understand, he will say it is sealed. Give it to somebody who cannot read, of course. When the one that cannot read, when the one that can read doesn't understand, what do you expect of somebody that cannot read? So he said, well, for me, I don't know how to read. The one that can read says, although I can read, this is not physical eyes, it is spiritual eyes. I can't understand it. It is sealed. And the one who can read doesn't understand. And the one that is even stark illiterate says, I can't read. I can't read. And then they will go into this. So you give the scroll to someone. Remember, it is talking about the vision, which is like a book. The vision is sealed, and it's like a book or a scroll given to somebody that can read. and he says, it is sealed. Give it to somebody who cannot read. He says, I cannot read. In other words, they cannot understand the will of God. They cannot know spiritual things. They are blind. Their eyes are closed. You see that? Some commentators have even said that these are excuses for people not to do the will of God. And Muslims will go right into the midst of this and say, read. Mind you, let me go deeper into this. We're going to go into the Quran, chapter, and we will laugh together, like a Christian Prince used to say. So this is where we find it. In chapter 96, verse 1. The first question you should ask yourself is this. If this is the first revelation of Muhammad, how did it jump to chapter 96? And Muslims will say, it was so. And this was not, I don't know, let Muslims explain. How did it, where did Allah say, put this in chapter 96? And it is the very first revelation. So the Quran has not been edited, it has not been compiled, it has not been changed, but the first revelation is in chapter 96. Who gave the order that they should arrange it that way? Muslims, that is something that you need to answer. But let's look at what the ayah actually says. Read. Okay, so what's the meaning of this? You don't understand. The Quran is never clear on anything. The story is not here. We just see, read. Look at this. It's in parentheses. Can you see this? It's in parentheses. Read in the name of your Lord who created, created humans from a clinging cloth. Ayah 3. Read, and your Lord is the most generous. Ayah 4. Who taught by the pen. Ayah 5. Taught humanity what they knew not. So, that's it. So we're going to go to different explanations. This is it. This is explanation on that ayah. The very clear Quran. If you read Quran chapter 11, verse 1, it says, it is mubin. It explains everything. But it doesn't explain this. It doesn't explain chapter 96. No explanation. But the Quran explains everything. And if you want me to show you, I'm going to show you. Let's see. Quran explains everything. Okay. Let's see. This is chapter 11. And in verse 1. Alif, Lam, Ra. Alif, Lam, Ra. A book whose verses are well perfected and then fully explained. Fully explained. This book, the verses are perfected and fully explained. But you see, in that same verse that claims that the verses are perfected, we see letters that don't have meaning. Alif, Lam, Ra. And so if the verses are perfected and fully explained, look at this. Fully explained. What is the meaning of Alif, Lam, Ra? What is the meaning? Fully explained. All right. The same thing you are going to find in chapter 2. Let's see that. Chapter 2, Al-Baqarah. Verse 1. Alif, Lam, Mim. Alif, Lam, Mim. Then the commentators put this, they say, these letters are one of the miracles of the Quran. And none but Allah alone knows their meaning. This is not part of the Quran. This one that you see here. This one here is not part of the Quran, but they inserted it. They inserted it because they know that Alif, Lam, Mim in a just those three letters in an ayah, they don't mean anything. And look at what Muslims are doing. Okay, so ayah 2 now says, this is the book. There's no doubt about it. A guide for those mindful of Allah. Okay? And it says, wherein there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Imagine. There's no doubt. A guidance. All right? So, but we see that here in chapter 96, verse 1, is there no doubt in this one? What's the meaning of this? Read in the name of your Lord who created and then went ahead, created humans, and then this and this and this and this. Up to, by the way, verses 1 to 5 are, the Muslims claim verses 1 to 5 are the only ayahs that were revealed on that day when Muhammad was in cave Hira. Can you see how confusing the whole thing is? But let's go back to some explanation. So here is altafsir.com. I didn't write this. This is some Muslims will say it's written by the Jews, written by Christians, the enemies of Islam. No, they're not. See, you can go there and see those who wrote it about this. So I'll leave that to you, altafsir.com, and then go and see. So, but on ayah 96, you can see it there. Surah 96, ayah 1. Ayah 1, here. You can see that from that place, we get to see that they're explaining. And from his narration on the authority of Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas is the cousin of Muhammad, that he said regarding the interpretation of Allah's saying. So they are the ones, human beings are the ones interpreting it, because it doesn't have meaning. It doesn't have meaning in the Quran. But Ibn Abbas, who Muhammad said is the one that Allah granted, I don't know what to call it, gave him special gifts on how to interpret the Quran. So, from Ibn Abbas, he says, read, O Muhammad, read the Quran. Say the Quran. Read. Okay, read what? The Quran, right? By the way, Ikra does not mean read, it is recite. Because it's from the word Quran, Ikra. It's not, so what is in the Bible is read. What you have here is recite. But they are translating it as read. Let's let that go. This is the first, you see this? This is the first revelation that Jubril brought down. All right? This is the first revelation that Jubril brought down. My question is, how did it jump to chapter 96? So go and sort that out. Okay? So, but if we go further to other places and see other tafsir. So I'm going to jump to, let's see this. I want to see if there's somebody else that is going to explain this. Oh, no explanation. Okay. I think Ibn Kathir gave some explanation. Ibn Kathir gave some explanation. So let's see what Ibn Kathir has to say about this. Let's see. Nobody is giving anything here. This is how clear the Quran is. Okay, we have Asbab al-Nuzul again. So let's see what nothing. What again? This is serious. This is serious. We can't get the meaning. So how does anybody here get to see that this is talking about Jubril? Okay, I think I should be able to get this out. Yeah, so I've been able to get a site. This is an account of the first revelation. So we've seen that it is the first revelation, but because we see it here, that from Essential Tafsir, it is the first revelation. Where is it? And if we go to this place, we now have some narration, some explanation, even though the Quran itself is Mubin, but not Mubin at the same time. After the death of Muhammad, the Muslims were left to decide how they were best to practice Islam without the Prophet's guidance. Wow. So within about a century, scholars had begun compiling stories of the sayings. Are you getting this? So he just died and nothing. And so they were, what are we going to do? How do we practice Islam? If he had actually given them everything they needed, if the religion had been perfected, would there have been any need to be wondering, how do we go now? And they had to figure out that for the next 100 years, compiling. Can you see this? They began to compile stories of the sayings and actions of this, on and on like that. But let's keep all that. So here, the following account is drawn from Al-Buhari's Sahih, and is one of a number of versions that we have of the story of the first revelation. So they had several versions. Okay, but this is one of a number of versions, which are drawn from a range of biographies. Wow, as indicated at the beginning. So Let's leave that. It says, this version was originally narrated by one of the prophet's wives, which is Aisha. This version was narrated by Aisha. According to who? Well, let's assume that this is correct. Remember, we're talking about ayah 1 to 5 of Surah 96, which Muslims want to claim it is referring to Isaiah chapter 29, verse 12. That's what they claim. Let's read. It's a long thing. I want to start from okay, so where do I start from? Okay, let's Yahya ibn Bukay told us that Alayth told us on the authority, that's what you get. This one told us on the authority of his father that his father told his mother, that his mother told his uncle, and his uncle told his wife, and the wife told her own sister, and her sister told her brother, that they heard Aisha saying that she heard Prophet Muhammad saying. How reliable is that? That's what you get. Who spoke on the authority of, imagine. So told us, imagine, Yahya ibn this told us that Alayth told us on the authority of Ukay, who spoke on the authority of Ibn Shibab, who spoke on the authority of Uwa, on and on, blah, 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 on the authority of Aisha, the mother of the faithful believers. Who said? So let's listen to what he said. After all the who told, on the authority of this. Okay? The commencement of the divine inspiration to Allah's messenger, blah, 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 was in the form of good dreams, which came. By the way, Aisha was not there. Aisha was not there. It was Khadija. Khadija herself was not there. She was at home. But let's read on. Came through like bright daylight, and then the love of seclusion was bestowed upon him. Okay? It says the inspiration, divine inspiration. That divine inspiration, Quran had not started coming down at all. Because it was during the seclusion that the first ayah was revealed. Revealed according to them. So all this one that they're saying is preamble. But let's go and listen to the real thing. So in the form of sweet dreams. So he would have dreams, and after that he would have a seclusion, go into some very quiet places, like in the cave Hira. Cave Hira. So, and he used to go in seclusion in the cave Hira, where he used to worship Allah alone. At that time, he did not even know Allah. He was not a Muslim. So I don't know what they mean. Continuously for many days before his desire to see his family. He used to take with him the journey food for the stay, and then come back. So when the food was spent, when the food was exhausted, he would come back and load his food flask again, and then he would go to the cave. So he would come to Khadija and take his food likewise until till suddenly the truth descended upon him while he was in the cave of Hira. The angel came to him and asked him to read. The prophet, blah, 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 replied, I do not know how to read. So that proves that it was being referred to in Isaiah. Right? Neglecting every other thing. Neglecting the one that could read. And he said it is sealed. It's a vision that it's like in a book. Okay, the question now is this. Which book did Jibril bring to Muhammad that he was asking him to read? Which book? That is question number one. Did Jibril bring a book to Muhammad right in that cave? So how are you going to tell somebody to read when there is no book to read? Does it make any sense? Read what? Read what? That's question number one. Question number two is this. Read. Did Allah know that he could read or not? Did Jibril know that he could read or not? Did he know that? Okay, so Allah knows best. Allah alam. Allah knows best. So he went to somebody who could read, who could not read, and was still saying read. But it gets worse. Let's go on. So he will say, I don't know how to read. The prophet, this, added, the angel caught him, grabbed him, and squeezed him, pressed him so hard. Can you see this? That he could not bear it anymore. Tell me, we want to ask a question. Show me any prophet in history, that any place in the Bible where an angel appeared, angel of God, appeared to somebody and was squeezing that person, was pressing that person. Just give us one instance that a true angel of light went to any prophet or any human being at all in the Old Testament or in the New Testament, anywhere, any book of history, that an angel sent from God to his own prophet will then get hold of the prophet and will be pressing him. You understand that? Well, this is fun. This is fun. Is it not fun? This is very, very funny. And Muslims will say, they're going to tell us, this is yes, is worthy of applause, because the angel squeezed him so hard. Let's read more because it's interesting. And so the angel squeezed him and asked him to read. He then released me and asked me again to read, and I replied, I don't know how to read. Thereupon he caught me again and pressed me a second time till I could not bear it. He wanted to suffocate. Okay. He then released me and again asked me to read. But again, I replied, I do not know how to read. Or, look at this. Or, what shall I read? This was put in the bracket. So this is very clear. This is very clear, right? Did he say, I cannot read? Or did he say, what should I read? See, look at this. This is Islam. This is Islam. All right? Thereupon he caught me for the third time and pressed me and then released me and said, read in the name of your Lord, who was created, who has created, and blah, 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 blah. Then Allah's messenger, okay, returned. Did he read or not? Did he read or not? What was the lesson here? Muhammad was squeezed, was pressed. Okay, so what's the lesson? What's the purpose of the squeezing? Read. I cannot read. Read. I cannot read. I cannot read. He will leave him. I cannot read. At the end of the day, at the end of the 3 rounds of severe pressing, severe squeezing, did he read eventually? Did he? He didn't read. He didn't read because we're not told he read. So what's the purpose of the squeezing? What's the purpose? Oh, this is what we find in Islam. And they want to tell us that this is what Isaiah is referring to. Go back to Isaiah. Go back to Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter. Okay. Are we told here in Isaiah that, number 1, it is the angel that brought the scroll? We're not told. Are we told that angel, he will then grab the person and squeeze him? No. So why are Muslims doing all of this? And if you read the next verse, read here, read there, you are not going to see anything like that. Anything. You won't see it. But they want to just show that Muhammad is there. The Lord says, these people come near to me. This is exactly why the vision is hidden from them. Exactly why. The Lord says, these people come near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is based on merely human rules they have been taught. That's why they cannot know the will of God. Their heart is far from God. And so, even if they can read, they will not understand. They will not understand. These are people that are not serving God with real purpose of heart. And yet they want to know the will of God. It will be hidden from them. That's why I said the vision of this book is like a book given to somebody who can even read, but give it to him, he will not be able to decipher because he is not ready to do the will of God. His heart, their hearts are far from me. That's what the Lord says. That's what Jehovah says. Their hearts are far from me. And somebody will go and interpret this and say it is talking about Muhammad. You know what? I will agree with you that it is talking about Muhammad. I will agree. Because Muhammad did not do the will of God. So he could not do. So this passage actually suits Muhammad because it is the vision of the Lord is hidden from him. He doesn't know the true God. He doesn't. And this passage is talking about people who don't know the will of God and cannot know the will of God because their hearts are far from him. This is exactly the issue that we're dealing with. And Muslims, keep on trying. Keep on trying. We will be exposing and be explaining. Can you see how I explained everything? Can you see how I went into your own book? How I read the whole thing? Can you see that? And how we read the Bible? There is no Muhammad here. And if you go to other passages of Isaiah, you're going to see that Isaiah is talking about the Messiah. I think I should read this into you. Isaiah chapter 53. Right there. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? This Lord is Jehovah. All right. In verse 2, goes ahead to say, he grew up, talking about the Messiah, like a tender shoot, and like a root out of a dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. Of course, he was mercilessly beaten. So his form had not been, he was despised and rejected by mankind. A man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. Of course, yes. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Verse 4. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. Verse 5. This is golden. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment, the chastisement that brought us peace was on him. And by his wounds, by his stripes, we are healed. This is the same Isaiah that spoke about the prophecy of Jesus Christ. And then you think the same Isaiah will now talk about Muhammad, with all the contradiction between Muhammad and Jesus, with all the differences between Muhammad and Jesus. I'm going to stop here. I don't want this video to be too long. So, Muslims, go and tell Dr. Zakir Naik or anybody in Nigeria, try again. We will keep on exposing you. There is no Muhammad in the book of Isaiah. Thank you, and God bless you.